Traveling the world can introduce you to diverse cultures and beauty. It can also bring to light the disparities between the Western world and less fortunate regions. What does one do? Enjoy their trip and leave those haunting memories behind? Or do something about it? Hi, I'm Tej, and today on Chezuba Talks, I have an inspiring guest, Chris Jones, the very young founder of Village Projects Foundation. Because Chris cannot just travel, he must make a difference. And in his words, it is only a small bit of effort from a lot of people which can make a huge difference. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks very much for having me. I'm excited to be here. So, yeah, thank you for hosting.
Chris, on your website, I read you have taught 120 monks how to swim. That was quite a challenge and something that you will probably remember forever. So tell us, was that the beginning of your foundation or is it something else?
That was it. I'd say it was the inspiration. It was inspiration behind it. I've been very lucky in my life to travel to some pretty interesting places, and that one was sort of like a volunteer project in a monastery. And as every year, basically, what they did is they had a 45-day fast. And we arrived to go and help teach in the monastery on the last week of their fast. And their celebration was to go to a like water park swimming centre sort of thing, which was all brilliant fun, but no one knew how to swim. So that was one of my jobs really for the first week or two. So yeah, it was brilliant fun and something I'll never forget, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine the vision of monks swimming around and just learning to swim and you training them. That's beautiful. So, were you always this observant or keen to observe in terms of inequalities?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I was always aware of it because so like family background, I guess as well. Like so, I grew up in quite a nice part of England, but it's a part of England where there's quite a lot. Well, growing up, there was quite a lot of distribution of wealth. So you go into central London, which is about an hour away, and it's amazing sky-rise buildings, like multi-million-pound apartments. It's an incredible place. And then you come an hour further the other direction from me, and it's almost sort of like completely the opposite. People are struggling for jobs and things like that. So that was something I was always quite aware of. But also my family background. My nan was, you probably wouldn't believe it looking at me, but she was East African. So she travelled over when she was 18. So this would have been 1940, 1950. And I spent quite a lot of my childhood with her and learnt a lot about growing up in East Africa, the challenges she faced, and why she came to England sort of for a better life. So, yeah, I was just sort of all ears to it because I thought it was the most amazing story in the world. When you're really young, to have someone like that in your own family was pretty inspiring. So, yeah, I was always open to the idea and aware of it, and I guess it sort of shaped what I do now today, really.
It's amazing. So, Chris, tell us your organization's mission and what are the primary objectives in terms of vision?
So the Village Projects Foundation provides educational resources to communities and areas of the world in need. Um, so to sort of summarize that and give you a few more examples, we've built libraries, computer labs, science laboratories in a specific area. One area in Kenya and one area in Ghana. So the way that I've selected to do this is to do 4 or 5 projects in one area for 4 or 5 years,
Okay.
to really target and make sure we can make a massive difference in that one area. And that also gives me the opportunity to go back each year with a new project, but also check how and like measure the success and ensure
The
the
impact.
impact is as we want it to be, really. So we've coming up to our 5th year in Ghana now, and I've done and second year in this project in Kenya. So yeah. So that's really our plan, if you like.
That's the plan, right? And how do you decide? This is the area, like you say, Uganda, Ghana, or Tanzania. How do you decide that this is what is going to be a geographical location for the next 5 years?
We have to go and research. We have to go and we talk to people on the ground. We organise calls if they've got access to internet. I go and visit people because, uh, for example, Ghana was quite relatively easy one because I went and volunteered there. So in my month that I volunteered there before we signed up to do the 5 year project, if you like, um, I knew quite a lot of people in the area, and it was really quite nice to sort of go back and see old friends, if you like. Um,
Yeah.
the Kenya one I went and volunteered maybe 5 years before for a brilliant, brilliant organisation called the East African Character Development Trust, um, and then learnt so much about the way to, in my opinion, the way to do it, rather than and sort of acknowledge some of the challenges that other charities have. And then it was from there. It was let's identify an area and make a difference. Really, um, yeah.
So,
It's have to. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's
sorry, no, no,
sort.
no, no.
It's I have to go and meet the people and understand the area myself.
Right.
Really, that's the best
So
way to
it
do
is
it.
community based, right? The community decides, this is what is needed, this is what is lacking in that area. So, how do you go about collecting those things? I mean, funds is, of course, one thing, but how do you decide that, they need books or they need a lab or they need a sports ground? So, is it the community that decides this, or is there some kind of organization that tells you, okay, we need this, and then you collaborate with them?
It's led by the community. In my opinion, that's the best way. They know their area miles better than I can ever know it. And we're just happy to support the community in what they desire, really. So, I mean, if they say we think we need a library for a science lab and a science lab for the school, that's a pretty easy thing. If they say, oh, we need a chocolate factory, then I'm probably going to be like, oh, I'm not sure I can do it. But it's it's pretty. It has to be community led, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's take a break to understand what Chezuba is. Everyone at some point ponders on how this beautiful life can be made more meaningful. Maybe you're a leader trying to enhance your employees' experience at your organization. Or you already work for the community and seek volunteers with state of the art skills to strengthen your nonprofit. Whatever your situation, know that you can make a difference. Chezuba began with this very vision, a vision to facilitate every skill and every passion in the world in meeting a social need. Corporate volunteering has several benefits for both businesses and organizations. In parallel, experienced and enthusiastic volunteers join NGO workers, enabling them to serve the community more effectively. Chezuba offers everyone looking to add purpose and meaning to their lives a chance to connect or volunteer virtually with nonprofit organizations from over 100 countries around the world. Visit www.chezuba.net and explore opportunities to find meaning. Chezuba, your platform to do good. And now, back with our guest. And not only that, it has to be a sustainable project. You cannot build a lab and say, okay, now this is the lab, you run it. How do you ensure that what efforts you have put in are going to be sustainable?
Well, we have a team on the ground who we work with. So, for example, for the Ghana Library Project, we worked alongside the local mayor, the head teacher of the school, a number of teachers to say, here's the plan we want. We've got architects, we've got builders and stuff. Here's the plan we're thinking of. Um, what do you think? And they make adaptations and stuff. And it's a very sort of democratic process.
Is
Then
okay.
as a part of that process, we have to say, look, I don't want to just build this and this goes to waste. We want to make sure that this is making the maximum impact
Exactly. Yes.
that it possibly can. So we have a plan about how to do that, and it differs with each project. So, for example, in the Ghana Library, we have a librarian on site every day, who works within there, and is her job essentially is to maintain it and to make sure that it's looked after, and make sure all the books are in alphabetical order, and to make sure that it's not overused as well, which is also an issue because you've only got one building in the whole town with sort of air conditioning and power. Everyone wants to use it, so we have
True.
to share it out as much as we can. So yeah,
Yes.
it's a whole operation. It's not just me in England with an idea. It's very much community led, and it has to be tailored to exactly what they need.
Right. So, how many geographical locations have you reached right now? Africa is one, and
Mm.
Nepal, I believe, one.
So we've done Nepal, Kenya, Kenya, Ghana. We did a project in Ukraine as well, just on the onset as the Russian invasion started. Really, that was more of a disaster response project. So that was very different to anything we've done before. So yeah, we've covered quite a lot of the globe, really. I'd say so far.
Right. And what are the challenges that you face? Things like corruption, red tapeism, or do you face any such challenges? Funding, yes. I know all nonprofits, most of the nonprofits that I've spoken to have issues with funding. But apart from that, what are the challenges that you face, and how can somebody help you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, everyone knows that funding for a non-profit is a challenge, and it's what I spend probably 80-90% of my time trying to work out. Challenges on the ground are different because there's red tape in my country about running a charity, but there's also red tape about once you get to Ghana or Kenya and uh, the local laws that you have to be aware of, which is very important to abide by. There's also corruption in Kenya and Ghana quite readily. So that's something you have to be aware of. For example, when the container arrived, we delivered a shipping container of 60,000 books, 30 computers, everything. Like, it was remarkable, like what we were able to put together through the generosity of people's donations. We have people saying that, oh, we're not going to release the container unless we pay this bribe, we pay that bribe. So corruption is always an issue when you're dealing in
Those
Africa.
countries,
I
yeah,
find, yeah.
right. Yes, yes. So, yeah, and how can anybody help you? Is there any virtual help that somebody can render, or you just need in-person help?
Yeah, so the organisation has helped a lot already because naturally, one of my skills is not social media. So people have already offered, and I've already had some volunteers from your organisation who have helped put together social media videos and things like this, which is massively beneficial because that just increases our reach and makes more people aware about what we're doing. So that's hugely beneficial. For us at the moment. And there are always little one-off projects that pop up, making a brochure, designing, I don't
A
know,
flyer or something,
yeah,
yeah.
designing a flyer, things like that. There are always little things that pop up. Um, so yeah, and yeah, as I say, the organisation has been really helpful already so far. So it's great.
Wonderful, great. And when and where is the next travel?
So we've got two. So we're providing. So as I say, this is the fifth year in Ghana. So for the essentially, it won't be the final project because I'll always go back there. But the fifth year, we're providing clean water to the school, which is a major project for them, and for us too as well, actually. But yeah, so that's an exciting one, and that will be happening in September, October. And then the other major project that we've got going on is we're trying to provide a kitchen, dining room, computer laboratory, and library to a community in Kenya that we've helped before. So
Lovely.
that's a major project, that one. And we just basically, as soon as we get the funding, we've got the green light to go ahead with it because everything else is done, really. So that's quite an exciting one.
Fantastic. Chris, one last question. Uh, Looking at your age, you started this nonprofit at a very young age. What would your message be to people listening to this who are your age?
are it's the most fun in the world. It's great. It's the feeling you get from doing a project and completing a project. It's so hard when you're going through it, but once you've completed it, it's the accomplishment of doing it is, and the friends you meet along the way. I'd just go for it. I wouldn't even think twice. There will be some challenges, and obviously, as you've mentioned, fundraising is difficult. You can't do it without the funds. You can't do it without the plans. You can't do it without abiding by the red tape. But once you've got your head around it all, you'll meet the most amazing people, the most generous people, and you'll go to some of the most incredible parts of the world. So yeah, go for it. That would be my advice. Just go for it.
It's just that taking the first step, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always the hardest thing in anything you do. The first step is always the hardest, but once you've done it once, you get the confidence to go twice, three times, four times, and then yeah, and then you're living your life, and it's brilliant. So yeah, I can't recommend it high enough.
So glad to see this coming from somebody so young as you. And thank you so much for talking to us, for sharing the work that you are doing. You are really transforming lives in these communities, and commitment and passion is what is coming from you. And you are encouraging more people. So thank you so much, Chris, for talking to us.
No, thank you for your kind words, and happy to help anytime. So yeah, thank you very much for having me.